Prince Harry is Britain's second most popular choice to become next monarch, despite his explosive attacks. What explosive attacks are we talking about exactly? I'm not even sure. But very interesting that um, Harry is thought of so highly by people in England, despite everything the media has basically been telling us about how to feel about Harry and Meghan, his wife. It's very interesting. Look, I am not all about, I'm not a monarchy and all of this. It's not my thing. I don't fundamentally believe that there should be things like monarchs. Okay. That said, that disclaimer aside, I live in a world where people still believe in monarchs, and I live in a world where there's a monarch in the United Kingdom, and it's a family dynasty, and one of the members of the family is this guy named Harry, whom I think is pretty damn cool. Okay. And so, that all being said, because I have no control over whether or not there's going to be a monarchy in the United Kingdom, you can't beat them, you join them to a certain extent. I was very tickled by this article because I was like, whoa, really? And then I thought, wow, could Harry ever actually become king? Because to be honest, I mean, whatever it is in my mind, whatever residues that are left for this whole idea of monarchy, um, whatever is left in terms of what I think a king would look like and how a king would be, I think Harry embodies that a lot more than, well, okay, let me be careful about this. Let me back away from that. Okay. William is the heir apparent, and as such, obviously I respect his position in the succession, in the hierarchy of this family dynasty. At the same time, I think that he's more of an individualist. You see, I don't see a man who's like hugely concerned with other people. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. But I see a young man who wants to inherit the throne because fundamentally he believes it's his right. It's his hereditary right. And that's all. He wants it for that reason alone. It's his hereditary right. In terms of what he could actually do for people in Britain, in the world, in the Commonwealth, I don't think that's something that he's thinking about as of this moment. Going forward, maybe his handlers could put it in his mind and he could start to really think about that a bit more. I mean, he's 40. Sometimes the age of maturity happens, around this time, 40, 50, you start to see life differently for sure. But for the moment, I see a young man who's oblivious to others, really, except insofar as what his handlers advise him to do. From his gut, I don't see someone who feels it for other people, right? By contrast, with Harry, I see a young man who feels it for other people. He really wants to make a difference for other people. His mom was the people's princess, and he's kind of, to me, the people's king. I mean, he would be a king for the people. And, you only have to look at his work with Archwell to see what I mean, this foundation that he formed with his wife, Megan, and all of the things that they have done already in a year or two with Archwell, just based on their impact report late last year, which is about 3 months ago. They said that through their foundation, they've provided 12.66 million COVID-19 vaccines, helped resettle 174,497 refugees, served 50,000 meals to the hungry, and rescued 7,468 individuals from Afghanistan. I mean, and that's just a part of, all the things that Harry and Meghan do for other people. And it's a part of their brand image. It's a part, they were doing these things before they got married, really. They were more sort of, I think, involved in humanitarian causes even before they got married. And I think that this is part of the reason they got married, is that they recognized themselves in each other and they were alike in this way. They wanted to help people. And so, you know, insofar as to the extent that I don't believe in this idea of monarchy, I mean, if there has to be a monarch, I definitely think a King Harry, to me, would be a better choice than a King William. And I say that with all due respect to William, not to take anything away from William, not to threaten William's position as the rightful heir. But I think that's one of the reasons that I don't like this idea of monarchy, because I don't like this idea of sort of nepotism, or just being handed something for the sake of it without earning it at all. What has William really done to earn the right to be king? Nothing. He was born and therefore he's king, And I think the monarchy needs to be modernized to allow for others in the royal family other than just the firstborn of the firstborn to be king. It should be more of a question of merit. You're king based on meritorious criteria. You're king based on your acts, what you do, not the fact of your birth or the happenstance of your birth. I don't like this idea at all, okay? And right now, William is sitting on a multi-billion-dollar trust, the Duchy of Cornwall, just because he's the firstborn. I mean, what is he actually doing that is remotely even equivalent to what Harry is doing with Archewell? And he has, hundreds of millions more dollars at his disposal. I just think that, he, a King William is really just a question of, again, habit and heredity, and just, it's just wind. It's wind. It's nothing really concrete, nothing that he has done to earn this. I think a King Harry for me would be, if you could vote, if one could vote on who should be king, if it was a more sort of democratic process of selecting the king, Harry would receive my vote. And again, no disrespect to William, but, I think for me to respect this idea of monarchy, I think it has to be modernized. And I think it needs to be more based on merit. What are your acts? Why should you be king other than the time you were born into this family, because you're the first child? Why should you be king?